All right, so it's Thursday. We tend to take things pretty easy on Thursday just because everybody's kind of over the week. And also, it's really, really hot today. And according to Ayurveda, the heat is really draining for us, which I think a lot of us feel sometimes when we spend a lot of time outside in the heat. This week, we started a series on the pitta subdoshas, so the various places in the body where the elements of pitta, which are fire and water, are a little bit more active. So we're going to go through this series over the next 5 weeks or so. We're going to kind of start at the top of the body and work our way down and out to the various places where fire and or water are most prevalent. And we're starting with the brain and the heart. So sadhaka pitta is the pitta subdosha of fire that resides in the heart and in the brain. So it helps to do things like stimulate our intellect. The fire of pitta in our brain kind of stimulates our thinking and clarity in our mind. And fire around the heart actually helps to lift some heaviness and some darkness and some lethargy from around the heart. We can think of it as kind of like burning off all of that stuff that just weighs us down. So the fire of sadhaka pitta, it energizes us and it motivates us. It kind of lifts all that gunk off of the heart. It stimulates our intellect and it makes us motivated to achieve and accomplish things in life. Big goals in life, but also tiny goals. I said yesterday morning, even that small goal of like getting out of bed in the morning and putting on clothes instead of wearing your pajamas all day. Even tiny little goals like that are associated with sadhaka pitta and that fire kind of burning to get us going. So, you know, when you have those days where you're just like, I think I'm going to lay in bed all day, or you actually roll out of bed and then you're like, oh, I think I'm just going to stay in these pajamas all day. You know that your fire in your brain and your heart isn't burning strong enough. So some of the things that we do in class today can be tools for you on those days when you feel less motivated. You can think of sadhaka pitta as like your motivator. We do in the summertime work with less intensity. So sometimes we think that we need to like work really hard and push ourselves and sweat and do hard things to get motivated. In the summertime, really what we need to get motivated is to be slow and gentle and to cool off a little bit. So we're going to get our blankets ready for reclined posture, but we're actually going to start seated, and it's the like late in the day, really the hottest part of the day. So we're going to start with some pranayama practice that will help cool us off before we get started. So go ahead and grab your blanket. And if you took it down off of the shelf here in the studio, it would have been folded into a rectangular shape. You're going to unfold it until you have 2 folds in it, 1 in each direction. So it's a large rectangle like this. Yours was right there. Just fold it in half one more time. Yep. And then you're going to start at one of the long edges and roll it up. You're just going to make yourself a big roll. And then we're going to take this roll towards the back end of your mat. I like to come about 1/3 of the way down. And just going to place that roll down the center of your mat. I usually put the folded edges all together just so it's kind of nice and even. And then I put the fringed edges off to the back. You can have that there and come just to sit right in front of it with your legs crossed, sitting up tall. If you're used to having some kind of lift underneath of you, like a blanket underneath of your seat, and you feel really uncomfortable just sitting on the ground, then you can just slide back and put your sitting bones right on the edge of that roll, and it'll help tip your pelvis forward. So you're going to sit either right in front of or right on the edge of your blanket, and just take a moment to let your eyelids soften down and wiggle your body around a little bit until you feel like you're settled in your place and you can sit with perfect posture. And just take a moment to bring your attention to your breath. And just let this moment of paying attention help you to focus your awareness more presently. Just letting go of everything that already happened today. It's already happened, and there's nothing you can do about it. And for right now, just setting aside everything that is waiting for you after class. All of those things will still be there in an hour. So you can just forget about them right now, set them aside, put them out of your mind, and just become more aware of the present moment. You might notice how your body feels physically in this moment. You might start to notice qualities of your breath. You might notice that it's fast or slow, deep or shallow. Your breath might be rough or smooth. And then you might notice qualities of your mind, just how you're feeling mentally and emotionally in your head and in your heart today. These mental and emotional feelings are really what we're working with when we're working with sadhaka pitta. So we're working with emotions in the heart and thoughts in the mind. So just noticing the qualities of your heart and the qualities of your mind. And for now, just keeping your breath soft. You don't have to deepen or change the rhythm of your breath. We're going to get started with a practice called shitali pranayama. The word shitali means cooling. So shitali is a cooling breath. There are two ways that you can practice shitali, and both of them involve rolling up your tongue. So some folks can roll their tongue this way, like the shape of a hot dog. Some people can't do that. It's just a genetic thing. It doesn't mean anything about you. You just don't have the gene that lets you do that. So if you have difficulty rolling your tongue like the shape of a hot dog bun, then you're going to curl the tip of your tongue back behind your teeth so that you have sort of a curl going the opposite way. So either way, you're making your tongue into the shape of a straw. Either it's a long straw that's going straight into your mouth, or it's a long straw that's going across your mouth this way. Does everybody understand at least one way to use your tongue? Okay, so you're going to use your tongue like a straw when you inhale. You're just going to shape your tongue into the shape of a hot dog bun or curl your tip of your tongue behind your teeth. And you're going to sip your breath in through that straw. And then you'll bring your tongue back into your mouth, close your lips, and let your breath just gently flow out through your nose. And then you'll reshape your tongue into the shape of a straw, sip your breath in. Pull the tongue into the mouth and release the breath through the nose. Just continue like that for about 5 more slow breaths. Take your time, there's no rush. Whenever you finish those 5 breaths, just take a moment to let your breath return in and out through your nostrils. And then just notice how you're feeling. See if you notice some cooling effect from that shitali breath. Sipping your breath in through your tongue like that helps to cool the air as it comes in. Generally, when we breathe in through the nose, we're warming the air as we bring it into the body. But when we sip the breath in through the tongue like that, it cools the air as it's coming into the body. So it creates this sort of internal cooling for your whole system. When your breath is returned back to normal, make sure you're sitting in front of your rolled up blanket. And then just take your hands behind you and ease yourself down onto the blanket. And as you ease down here onto the blanket, you want that blanket to support your entire spine. So as you recline back, you might notice that there's a little space between your low back and the blanket. You can reach back and kind of fluff up the blanket and fill it in like you're making a speed bump. Same thing behind the back of your neck. And then any blanket that's left over at the end behind your head, if you need a little extra lift for your head, you can fold that extra blanket in and make yourself a little pillow for the back of your head. You can arrange your legs any way you like. So if you're comfortable with your legs crossed, you can keep them that way. If you want to stretch your legs forward, that's also an option. You can have your knees bent with your feet on your mat. Or you could bring your feet together and your knees wide like a butterfly. You could even use blocks underneath of your knees or your thighs to support your legs in that way. And then let your arms, we have plenty of space in here today. And if you're home, hopefully you have a lot of space too. Stretch your arms out to the sides, at least 45 degrees away from your body. And if you have enough space and it feels okay, all the way up to 90 degrees, like the shape of a letter T. And then just rotate your palms up towards the ceiling. And as you settle in here, try to soften and relax your body and have sort of a sense of weightlessness, almost like you're just floating effortlessly on top of a pool of water. As your body softens and relaxes and becomes a little more weightless, return your attention to your breath. And for today's practice, keep your breath more soft, slightly more shallow, but let it fall into rhythm where the inhale and the exhale start to match. We really want to focus on the qualities of staying cool today. So if you find yourself warming up throughout practice, you now have a tool to help you cool off, the Shitali pranayama. So you can breathe in by sipping the air in through your tongue. And release the breath gently through the nose. So when we don't have a lot of fire in the environment in the fall and in the winter and even in the early spring, we often need to stimulate fire in the body. So we need to do things that heat us up and kind of kindle that fire. And that's what will help get us motivated, bring clarity to our mind. But when we do have a lot of fire in the environment, like summertime, we often need to focus on practices that decrease our internal fire. So more fire doesn't necessarily mean more motivation. More fire can feel like lack of motivation because we experience something that in kind of common cultural language, we call burnout. When the fire's too high, we just kind of feel over it all. Just don't want to do anything because I'm just over it all. So unlike our practices from kapha season, now we want to focus on cooling as we practice as a key motivator. And the sadhaka pitta, the fire that's present in the heart and in the mind, we can think of as fire that connects the heart and the mind. And in yoga, we often equate the heart and the mind. We think of them as one and the same. The word that we use for mind in yoga is chitta. And then the word chitta actually more accurately translates into something like heart mind, as if the two are one. And there's an ancient Lakota saying from the Lakota Native American tribe. It goes like this. It says, the power of the universe will come to your assistance if your heart and your mind are in unity. The power of the universe will come to your assistance if your heart and your mind are in unity. And this really reminds me of sadhaka pitta, bringing the heart and the mind into balance, bringing the heart and the mind into union with one another, helps us achieve our goals and our aspirations. And this Lakota saying reminds us that achievement really comes from something higher than ourselves, something beyond ourselves. All we have to do is stay present in our heart and our mind. And the universe will take care of everything else. So our yoga practices bring clarity to the chitta. And when we are more able to see the world in its truth, in clarity, then we're more able to see our own divine inner light and the divine inner light of others. And take another breath in and out. And then if your legs are not already stretching forward, the next time that you inhale, go ahead and stretch your legs forward and reach your arms over your head. You're going to stay on that blanket, but just stretch out long like you just woke up in the morning. And then as you exhale, walk your feet onto your mat. Let your arms float down to your sides. And then you're going to raise your right arm again alongside your right ear. Roll all the way over to your right side, coming off of your blanket and just allowing your head to rest on your right arm like a pillow. And then you can reach behind you there and just kind of pull the blanket out from behind you. Or if you need to sit up to move that out of the way, you can press yourself up and move that out of the way. And then just roll over onto your back once again. So once the blanket is gone, you're just going to roll over and rest on your back. Once you come over to reclining on your back, have your knees bent, the soles of your feet resting on your mat, and your arms along your sides, starting with your palms facing down. So we're going to move through several rounds of the moving or the rolling bridge pose, just starting first by lifting and lowering the hips, and then we're going to add the arms in just a little bit. So you want to have your feet about hip distance apart, maybe slightly wider. And on a breath in, you're going to lift your pelvis up off the floor, roll your spine up one vertebrae at a time. And when you exhale, slowly roll your spine back down. The back of your pelvis comes back to touch the mat. As you inhale, press into the feet, lift the hips, roll the spine up. And as you exhale, rolling back down. Do 3 more like that, hips and spine only. Hips lift and then spine rolls up. And then as you exhale, spine rolls down, hips return to the floor. 2 more in a row. And when you finish that second one, you return your pelvis to the floor. We're going to start to add the arms. The next time that you inhale and lift your hips, let your arms reach all the way up to the ceiling and then back over your head, reaching to the back door. And then as you exhale, arms, spine, and pelvis all come back to the floor. And inhale, hips, spine, and arms all lift up. And then as you exhale, arms, spine, and hips all come back down to the floor. 3 more in a row following your own breath here, lifting and lowering. When you finish that third one, you're going to come into a bridge pose to hold. Arms stay at your sides, press into your feet, lift your hips, roll your spine up, and you can grab the edges of your mat and pull from side to tuck your upper arms underneath of you, or clasp your hands into a fist behind your back and reach towards your heels. Press down through your heels, let your tailbone reach towards your knees, so you're tucking just slightly here. And take one more breath in and out. So at the end of your exhalation, starting to roll your spine back down to the floor. As you roll back down to the floor, hug your right knee in towards your chest. Stretch your left leg forward on your mat and roll all the way over to your left side. And then as you roll to your left side, just take a moment to get comfortable. If you want to support your right knee with a blocker blanket, use that. If you'd like to bring a blocker blanket under the side of your head, fill in the space there. And then your shoulders are stacked, right shoulder over left shoulder. When you inhale, reach your right hand up towards the ceiling. And then as you exhale, roll your chest open into a twist and let your right arm reach back behind you towards the right side of the room. Okay, if your right shoulder doesn't touch all the way down to the floor, maybe even your hand hovers above the floor, and that's okay as well. But if you're reaching straight across to the right side of the room, you should be getting some gentle stretch across the right front side of your chest and your right front shoulder. You're going to take one more breath in and out in your twist. And then as you inhale, roll all the way over to your left side again. And then as you exhale, roll onto your back. Once you're on your back, use your feet to shift your hips and shoulders back towards the center of your mat. Get aligned here. And then on an inhale, bring your left knee in towards your chest. Stretch your right leg forward along your mat, and as you exhale, roll all the way over to your right side. Once you're on your right side, again, just take time to get comfortable. Prop up your knee, prop up your head, find support as you need it. And then when you inhale, reach your left hand towards the ceiling. And as you exhale, roll your chest open. As you roll open into your twist again, try to reach that left arm straight over to the left side of the room so you get that gentle tug on the front left side of your chest and your front left shoulder joint. And then take another breath in and out. And then when you inhale again, start to roll towards your right side. And as you exhale, roll onto your back. Once you come onto your back, hips and shoulders come back into the center of your mat. Go ahead and hug both of your knees up to your chest. We're going to come to hands and knees next. So you're welcome to rock up and down the length of your spine if that feels good, or just roll over to the side and press up. And then come on around to a tabletop position. You're going to have blankets under your knees if you like those there. And we will do lunges today, as always. So you might want to bring some blocks to the front of your mat. And then once you're in your tabletop position on your hands and your knees, we'll begin a few rounds of the cow and the cat. On the inhalation, lifting the tailbone, dropping the belly, lifting the chest, taking the gaze forward. And on the exhalation, tucking the tailbone, rounding the spine, push the floor with your hands, drop your chin to your chest. With breathing in, the tailbone lifts. The belly drops, the heart lifts forward, the gaze is up. And as you exhale, tuck the tailbone round the spine, take the chin to the chest. And do about 3 more rounds of the cow and the cat, back and forth through flexion and extension. And whenever you've finished that 3rd round, on your next breath in, you're going to come back to a neutral spine. Take your hands forward about 1 handprint. Tuck your toes under. And then as you exhale, press up into downward facing dog. And as you press back into your downward facing dog, you can take a moment to wiggle your hips from side to side or alternate, bending one knee and then the other, just moving around in all of the ways that help you settle in here. And then when you feel ready to settle, just take a moment in stillness. And as you take that moment in stillness, try to decrease the amount of effort, just a little bit here. And instead, see if you can find just a little bit of joy in the sensation of stretching your whole body in the downward facing dog. And then take one more breath in and out. And then go ahead and slowly walk your feet all the way up to your hands. We are going to do lunges, so you can keep blankets at the center of your mat if you're using those for your knees. When you get your feet all the way up to the top end of your mat, slide your hands onto your shins or your thighs, lengthen out your spine. And as you exhale, fold forward over your legs, and then just take a moment to soften your knees, let your torso dangle over your thighs, let your head be heavy. You can imagine your head just like a heavy weight, pulling the spine in traction. You can nod your head yes a few times or shake your head no if that feels good for you. And then take one more breath in and out. And then as you take your next breath in, slowly come all the way to stand. Let your arms reach out to the sides and up overhead, and then interlace your fingers into a fist. As you reach up above your head on your exhale, take a side bend to your left, press your right foot down more firmly into your mat. And then as you breathe in, come back up through the center, and on your breath out, take a side bend to your right. Let your left foot press down a little more firmly. When you inhale, come back up through the center, and then as you exhale, let your hands come all the way down behind your back. As you reach behind your back, interlace your fingers, make a fist, and then try to press your palms as close together as you can get them. Squeeze your elbows towards each other. On your breath in, lengthen your spine, keep squeezing your elbows together. And then as you exhale, you can see if you can straighten those elbows out a little bit and reach your knuckles more towards the floor. If your elbows start to straighten and your knuckles reach down towards the floor, then when you inhale, see if you can lift your fist away from your low back and reach towards the back of the room, and breathe out here. Inhale, shoulder blades draw together. The front of the shoulders are broad, the front of the chest is broad, and exhale. And take one more breath in and out. And then however you're holding your hands behind your back, when you inhale, release that clasp, reach all the way out and up, tilt your gaze up towards the ceiling. And then when you exhale, slowly fly forward over your legs. As you fold forward, you can slide your hands onto your shins, or you can grab your blocks here and lengthen your spine. And then we're going to start by taking the right foot towards the back end of your mat. And as you step your right foot back into your lunge, go ahead and lower the right knee down. Reposition your blankets or cushions underneath your knee as you need them here. And then situate your feet or your left foot and your right knee so that you have plenty of space between your left foot and your right knee for your pelvis to rock forward and down. So you want to think about your right femur bone being more at a diagonal to the mat rather than straight up and down like a perpendicular. And then as your right side femur or right side thigh becomes more diagonal to the mat, then you're going to squeeze your left heel and your right knee towards each other. You're going to stay in that forward position with your pelvis, but start to lift your torso and just bring your hands to the top of your left thigh. As you bring your hands onto the top of your left thigh, try to lift your chest a little bit more so you can kind of think of your spine starting to make the shape of a crescent moon. If anybody saw the moon last night, that shape. We're going to take one more breath in. And then on the exhale, starting to take the hands back down to your blocks. And then as you inhale, we're going to take the left knee back to meet the right knee. And you can lower your blocks or move them off to the side, just coming to kneeling in a tabletop type position. A round of the cow and the cat. When you inhale, lift your tailbone, lift your chest. And when you exhale, tuck your tailbone round your spine. And then inhale back to a neutral spine, tuck your toes. And when you exhale, press back, downward facing dog. Again, as you press back into downward facing dog, see if you can do it with a little less effort than normal. And instead of struggling into the effort of the posture, just let yourself enjoy the sensation of stretching. Take one more breath in and out. And then when you inhale again, look towards your hands. And as you exhale, walking your feet forward to meet your hands. You can slide those hands up onto your shins, lengthen out your spine. And then as you exhale, fold over your legs. And then on your breath in, come all the way to stand. You're going to reach the arms out and up. And again, interlace your fingers into a fist. And as you exhale, lean towards your left side, press your right foot to your back. Inhaling back up to center. And as you exhale, lean to your right side, press your left foot to your mat. And as you inhale back up to center, we're going to take the hands behind the back on your breath out. Interlace your fingers into a fist. Start by just keeping the elbows bent. Press the palms together. Squeeze the elbows together. Take a breath in. Lift your chest. You can stay just like this. Or again, you can start to straighten the elbows and reach the knuckles down towards the floor. If your elbows straighten and knuckles reach down, when you inhale, see if you can lift your hands away from your low back and breathe out here. Take another breath in and out. And then however you're holding your hands, release that clasp. When you inhale, reach out and up. And then as you exhale, slowly flying forward. Here again, you might grab your blocks or just take your hands onto the fronts of your shins. And as you inhale, lengthen your spine. On your breath out, the left foot's going to the back of your mat in that lunge. Go ahead and lower your left knee down. Take a moment to make that space so that you can really rock forward, the front of your left thigh at a diagonal to the floor. And once you get into that full range of motion, right heel comes towards the left knee towards the right heel, and then lifting the torso, bringing the hands to the top of your right thigh. And as you press your hands into the top of your right thigh, lifting through your heart, think about making that crescent moon shape with your spine. You might even tilt your chin up towards the place where the ceiling and the wall meet here at the front of the room. I'm going to take one more breath in. And then as you exhale, start to fold forward, take your hands back to your blocks. And then inhale, right knee goes back to meet the left. You can lower the blocks or move them out of the way, coming into a tabletop type position. As you inhale, a round of cow and cat, lift your hips, lift your gaze. And as you exhale, tuck your tailbone, round your spine, chin to chest. And on your next breath in, you're going to come back to neutral and then come all the way down to your belly. And as you crawl down towards your belly, we're going to start in Sphinx pose. So your elbows are going to come underneath of your shoulders and your forearms will be parallel to each other with your palms facing down, or interlacing your fingers so your forearms make a bit more of a triangular shape. And then pressing down through your elbows, forearms, hands, pulling back slightly, extending your heart forward and up. And then taking your gaze forward or even tilting your chin just slightly higher. See again, if you can think about that shape of a crescent moon from your tailbone all the way up to the base of your skull. And take one more breath in. And then stack up your hands. And as you exhale, turn your elbows out to the sides and lower all the way down, resting your forehead on your stacked up hands. You can shake your hips a little bit from side to side here if that feels good, or bend your knees and let your shins sweep back and forth. If you still have your knees bent, go ahead and extend your legs long on your mat. And then we're going to let the forehead come down to rest on the mat. The arms come back along the sides, preparing for Shalabhasana, the locust pose. When you inhale, lifting your shoulders, your chest, your head, your legs, and your hands, and breathing here. Now, as you're lifting up, you might think of your whole body in the shape of a crescent moon. Can you get your toes as high as your head? And take one more breath in. And then as you exhale, lower all the way down. This time you're going to bring your hands underneath of your shoulders and then just roll over onto your back. You're going to stay oriented as you are and just roll directly over onto your back. This way you should have a block close to you since your blocks were at the front of your mat. Once you're on your back, bend your knees, place the soles of your feet on the floor. Have your block close by and then press into your feet. Lift your hips and slide the block underneath of you. Let the back of your pelvis come down to rest on your block. As you let your hips come down to rest onto your block, just pause here, take a breath or two, let everything start to settle. Check and make sure that your block feels comfortable. And then once everything feels comfortable here, lifted on the block, you're going to stretch your right leg forward. Let your heel come down to rest on your mat. And then just let that right leg relax. So you don't have to keep it active. You might notice that as you relax, it kind of rotates out to the right a little bit. That's okay. And if it feels good for you to add a little extra stretch, you can reach your right arm alongside your ear, reaching up here towards the front of the room. Take one more breath in and out, and then start to take your right arm back down to your side. Rebend your right knee and place your foot on the floor. Just pause here, take a breath in and out. And then when you inhale, that left leg is going to stretch forward. Heel resting on your mat. Again, let the leg relax. So it might kind of flop out to the side a little bit, and that's okay. And then if you liked the sensation of extra stretch by adding your arm, you can reach your left arm up alongside your ear and reach here towards the front of the room. Take one more breath in and out. And then left arm comes back down to your side. And the left foot comes back onto the floor. Okay, so you can repeat that stretch to get a stretch through your hip flexor and your quadricep muscle if what we're going to do next doesn't seem like it works in your body. Right now, if you are on the lowest setting of your block and you can tolerate being on the medium setting, I'm going to recommend that you lift your block one level higher just to give you a little bit more space. If you can't tolerate being on the medium setting, that's okay. You can do this from the lowest setting. You just won't have quite as much space to work with. Okay, so we're going to go for a deeper quad stretch. And remember, if this doesn't work for your body, you can just go back to stretching one leg out long in front of you. We're going to try to bring your right knee towards your chest. And then as you bring your right knee towards your chest, you're going to reach down and hold your right ankle with your right hand from the outside of your right leg. So don't reach in the inside of your knee. Reach to the outside, grab a hold of your right ankle. And then you're going to think about coming into hero pose by tucking your right foot behind you next to your right hip. If you can untuck your toes and point them towards the front of the room, that'll be good. If you can't, that's okay. So your right knee is going to point towards the front of the room. You're going to go this way, this way, this way, this way, more. There you go. And then try to put your right knee closer to the front of the room. Okay. If that doesn't work, just stretch that right leg forward. You're still going to get a stretch in your quads and hip flexors. Just this kind of half hero version is a little bit more intense. Okay. So if you're at home and you're kind of confused about what this looks like, you've reached down and you're holding your right shin or ankle, and then you're pulling your right foot back behind you next to your hip, as if someday you might be able to get your right knee on the floor where your foot was at. And take one more breath in and out. And then start to untuck your right leg and place your right foot back on the floor next to your left. We'll just take a moment, pause there in the center, and we're going to do the second side. So you're going to, again, pull your left knee to your chest. You're going to reach to the outside of your leg and hold that ankle or foot. And then tuck your left foot next to your left hip. Your left knee is going to point more towards the end of your mat. And if you can get those toes untucked and bring the top of your foot to the floor, it's a little bit better. But if you can't get those toes untucked, that's okay too. The more you can really focus on just pressing your left knee towards the end of your mat, the better the stretch will be. And if that doesn't work in your body with your hips and your knees, just stretch your left leg forward again. Okay. And take one more breath in and out. And then as you inhale, start to untuck that left leg. Place your left foot back on the floor next to your right. Pause there, take a breath in and out, and then you're going to press down into your feet, lift your hips, slide your block out from underneath of you, and come all the way down onto your back. Once you roll all the way down onto your back, right arm comes up beside your right ear, and you're going to roll over to your right side again. Rest your head on your arm, and then use your left hand to press yourself up. And as you turn towards the front of the room, this time you're going to come to standing on your knees. So whenever I stand on the knees, I like to double up the cushion that I had there for cat and cow. So instead of just one layer of blanket, I fold it in half and have two, just so I have a little extra, because I have the weight of most of my body on my knees this time. And once you're standing on your knees, just like you're standing in mountain pose, your shoulders are stacked over your pelvis and your ears are stacked over your shoulders. So you want to kind of imagine that you're standing up in your mountain pose. Bring your hands along the sides of your waist and squeeze your elbows towards each other. And then as you inhale, you're going to tuck your tailbone just a little bit and lift up your chest. And then as you exhale, squeeze your glutes and start to curl back, lifting your heart towards the ceiling. As you curl back and lift your heart towards the ceiling, you might extend the back of your neck a little and lift your chin. If you can still think of the shape of that crescent moon from your tailbone all the way up to the base of your skull, it will really help you to feel more even sensation through your spine. You take one more breath in and out in Ustrasana, the camel pose. And then as you inhale, squeeze your glutes and start to come all the way upright. And you're just going to fold into a tabletop position. As you fold into a tabletop position, hips above the knees, shoulders above the wrist, and let your tail wag just a little bit from side to side. We're going to do that one more time. So the hands are going to walk back towards the knees. You're going to stand upright on your knees. Again, just imagine that you're in mountain pose, only you're on your knees instead of your feet. And then hands come around your waist, squeezing your elbows towards each other. And then tucking the tailbone just a little, lift up your chest. And as you exhale, squeeze your glutes and start to arch back, lift your heart towards the ceiling, extend the back of your neck, lift your chin. You can keep your hands on your waist like we did on the first round, or some of you might release your hands down and try to hold on to the backs of your thighs. As you reach down and hold the backs of your thighs, squeeze your shoulder blades together to broaden your chest. Keep squeezing your glutes to support your lumbar spine. Tilt your chin to the ceiling. Take one more breath in and out. And then as you inhale, slowly start to come all the way back up. This time you're going to fold into your tabletop position. And then bring your big toes together. Take your knees a little bit wider. Press back towards child's pose to stretch your low back. Your tailbone reaches towards your heels. You might even tuck your tailbone just a little bit here to get a little additional length in your low back. Your forehead may or may not touch the floor. That's not really the important part today. You just want to get some stretch out of that low back. Take another breath in and out. And then as you inhale, just shifting back towards your hands and knees, we're going to transition into reclining on the back, getting ready for Shavasana, but not quite there yet. So whatever you're going to need when you come into Shavasana, have it close by. When you come down onto your back, again, knees will be bent, soles of the feet on the mat. Before we do come into Shavasana, we're going to do one quick stretch for the backs of the legs, because the backs of the legs get a lot of contraction in the back bending postures. So you're simply going to bring your right knee in towards your chest, hold on around or behind your right thigh, and then just extend your right heel up towards the ceiling. And just take a moment here to position your leg in whatever way feels good. If it feels nice to give it a little sway from side to side, you can even do that. There's no right or wrong way to do what you're doing right now. All you want to feel is some kind of spacious, opening, stretching sensation on the back of your right leg. And there are lots of different ways that you can do that. And take another breath in and out. And then start to lower your right leg back down, and we'll go ahead and switch sides and get that stretch and opening on the back of the left leg. Knee to chest, holding around or behind the thigh, and then stretching the left leg long. And then just take your time to move that leg around or hold it in place, whatever gives you the best sensation of stretch on the back of your left leg. Then take another breath in and out. And start to bring the left knee back down to the chest. And hug both knees up towards your chest. Rock a little bit from side to side. Just appreciate and enjoy the weight of your body massaging your low back. If it feels good to bring your forehead towards your knees and squeeze into a tight ball just to get a little extra stretch on the back body now, you can squeeze in tight. And then before you settle into Shavasana, one big long stretch like you just woke up in the morning, reaching your arms over your head, your feet down to the end of your mat, your back, your low back is going to arch away from the floor just a little bit. And you want to maintain some of that lift of your low back as you let your arms float down to your sides. As your arms come down to your sides here, you can close your eyes or soften your eyelids. Let your arms and your hands come to rest wherever they feel most comfortable. Take a moment here and just check in if you built some heat during your practice. Take a few rounds of that cooling Shitali breath, sipping the breath in through your tongue and releasing the breath out through your nose. And as you start to feel that cooling effect, then transition to breath in and out through the nostrils, soft, relaxed, and shallow. Again, here, let your body start to feel a little more weightless, almost like you're just floating on the top of a really cool pool of water. And begin to deepen your breath. And as your breath deepens and starts to fill your body, invite some small movements into your fingers and your toes, and then into your wrists and your ankles, and eventually hugging your knees all the way up to meet your chest. As you hug your knees into your chest, take a little rock from side to side until you eventually just roll over onto your right side. As you roll to the right, use your left hand to press yourself all the way back up to seated. As you come up to seated, rest with your hands in your lap or together in front of your heart. Bow the wisdom of your head towards the wisdom of your heart, unifying the two. The power of the universe will come to your assistance if your heart and your mind are in unity. The divine light in me sees and honors that same divine light in each one of you. Namaste. Namaste. Thank you all so much for being here this evening. Thank you for practicing at home. If you have any questions, please let me know. And hopefully I will see everyone again sometime next week. Try to stay cool this weekend. Now you have some